Hello, my friends. Jacob is here one more time. Thank you for pressing play. You may be asking me, why am I holding on to little heaven in my hand? Uranus. That's what heaven. That's the word heaven in Scripture. And you may be asking what kind of tea that I'm drinking. It's wormwood tea. That's right. I'm doing that again. Because I'm not in enough pain with everything else that's going on with my ankylosing spondylitis and Crohn's disease, and because of everything that's going on in the world, I might as well make myself a little more uncomfortable during this program. But I hear it has a lot of good benefits, and one of you sent me a video about wormwood tea, and I figured, what the heck, I might as well add it to the show, because we're going to be talking about so many things. First of all, the fact that Uranus, heaven, James Webb Telescope, whether or not you believe it's true, right? Whether or not you believe it's true. I don't understand how they do these things, but supposedly this is like the best image of Uranus you're ever going to get. It's got like ice rings around it, which I think is pretty cool, because we got the drums of number 3 on the horizon. Everything with the old China is going around the Taiwan. We're going to talk about that. We got stuff going on with Trump making just mad declarations. We got AI concerns. Twitter's no longer, Twitter Inc. Now it's like X Inc. So many things to talk about. I don't even know where to begin. So I guess I'll just begin with this new image of heaven. It feels like it's heaven's pouring out its wrath, for one thing. But I'll tell you whose wrath is going bye-bye, and that's Poseidon's. I think this is spiritually significant, people. I think it's spiritually significant. Poseidon being, of course, the sea god. We've talked a lot about the Kraken on the show. Remember, release the Kraken. And then all of a sudden, on the 14th, the wackadoo goes out on an eclipse, December 14th. I said it might begin Jacob's time of trouble, but they were saying release the Kraken. It feels like the Kraken's been released. Literally, in Japan, there was this stone. It's called the Killing Stone. And the idea was that the 9-tailed fox, this demon spirit, was trapped inside of it, but that stone was it was cracked open. And so that was around the same exact time. So it's almost like Satan's been released on the world. But with Poseidon's fury closing, I put out this little tweet, this little thing. I'm trying to share news in an interesting way. If you're not following me, by the way, on Twitter, you should. It's Jacob Israel 71. Please do, because that's the only place that seems like I'm not being censored. And if you want to keep up with the things that I talk about on each show, I usually post there ahead of time some of the things and get people thinking. So I posted this about Universal Studios saying no more to Poseidon's fury. It's like a ride, right? It's like a ride. But I see it as a picture of maybe, the evil that's in the world, maybe it's coming to an end. The fury of Satan, because that's basically what Poseidon is, the god of the sea, the whole trident thing, it's coming to an end. And what's ironic about it coming to an end is in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, when the devil comes, when it's like, that's it. The devil's been released for 1,000 years, and then it's going to be destroyed. Well, there's this great war that takes place between Gog and Magog. So this great war takes place. So it's kind of like, it's very interesting to see all of this stuff playing out literally now in the world today, especially with what's going on with China and their military. They've been conducting these drills around Taiwan. Could you imagine being little old Taiwan? You're just surrounded by carriers and ships and jets and, they said their military is ready. They're like, we're ready. We just did these drills. And supposedly the drills are over, but they're still circling the island. It's getting a lot of people freaked out, especially because the old president of China, the emperor, right, of China, the guy who's in charge, Xi, he just met with Macron. And of course, we just talked about Macron like a couple of weeks ago in this show over here, Macron. And he just had this meeting with Xi, and he came out of it and he's like, we need to not be vassals of the United States, right? We need to distance ourselves from the United States. Seems like Europe and all these things are starting to crumble. This video just emerged of this carrier of the CV-17 Shandong. He's emerged. And I gotta tell you, this thing, It's noteworthy because it has a J-15 carrier based on fighters that carry air-to-air combat missiles. They're not taking this as like lightly. It's kind of like the old joke goes when all the stuff was happening with the Ruskies and they were getting ready, like they're not going to invade, and then they did. So I kind of got that same vibe going on. I kind of feel like that's the direction it's going.
Pretty heavily involved in Ukraine right now. We're spending a lot of our taxpayer money on a European war. And I've supported that because I think it's in the national interest of the United States to be allies to our allies. But if our allies' position, if in fact Macron speaks for all of Europe and their position now is they're not going to pick sides between the US and China over Taiwan, maybe we shouldn't be picking sides either. Maybe we should basically say we're going to focus on Taiwan and the threats that China poses, and you guys handle Ukraine and Europe.
And of course, because of our military spread so thin, and because of, it's probably wouldn't be a good thing for us to get too involved. But that isn't stopping, our military and everything else saying that we need to send troops there and we need to get involved. It's just great, isn't it? And you wonder why I'm drinking the wormwood tea, which is absolutely horrific. Horrific. I'm not going to do this outside of being on the camera. I'll suffer for you. Hopefully it'll help with parasites if I got any parasites and everything else. Seems like a lot of people are dealing with parasites today, especially in banking. You know what I mean? Macron has said that Europe must resist the pressure to become followers of America because there's a great risk of them getting caught up in what's happening. So doesn't it seem like everything's going in that direction? I got to tell you something. I'm pretty sure that China's probably already got a couple people in their pockets and that this is all a big plan and everything's coming together. And I have a feeling that the hero, the Trumpster, is going to come on and seem to save the day and bring it all together. I just have this feeling. I don't know if it's true. I just know that France literally, after meeting with China, committed to further distancing themselves from the United States. So there goes another one of our allies. It reminds me of, that mad king Nabonidus, the one that follows Nebuchadnezzar, and how, Daniel's vision, right? We have Stormy Daniel's vision of everything where they're weighing the balances, where there was a writing on the wall. Basically, you think that all your allies are going to help you when this war comes, but everybody runs and cuts tail. Just seems like that's what could happen to the U.S., especially when you got Trump literally tweeting out just WW3. That's it. Just tweeted that out for whatever reason. Then Donnie Darkin, you know him on Twitter? You should follow him. He's a cool dude. He then follows that up with, it was 77 years, 7 months, and 7 days. Can you believe this? 77 years, 7 months, and 7 days from the end of World War II. And then he tweets out WW3, and he's connected to all those sevens. They say in Revelation, the beast is connected to the sevens too. You think the end days, you think all this stuff that's happening, it does kind of seem a little, apocalyptic. You got people that are like drug addicts on the streets, giving birth to babies, infants. That just happened. I think it was in San Francisco. Of course, a lot of people are talking about how just terrible San Francisco is right now. A lot of weirdness. I'm sure you saw the thing that I posted on Twitter about with the Dalai Lama, asking the young boy to suck his tongue. Suck my tongue. Oh, suck my tongue. It's like, they tried to make it, some people were saying, oh, it's a cultural thing. I'm like, let me tell you something. It's not a cultural thing. It's just weird. The old man probably forgot that he was being recorded and he was on tape. This was a while ago, too, that this happened. It just started to make the news. But isn't that just kind of just disgusting? You see all these, he's called His Holiness, and he's got a young boy there, and he's asking the young boy to suck his tongue. I think that the world is definitely a little backwards. Wouldn't you say so? Maybe you should tell me in a comment section. If you think I'm wrong, if you think everything's going okay, you let me know, because that would be an encouragement. I would probably have to recommend you to a doctor, though, because the world does seem a little bit crazy.
Without confirming the validity of the documents, this is information that has no business in the public domain. It has no business, if you don't mind me saying, on the pages of front pages of newspapers or on television. It is not intended for public consumption, and it should not be out there.
So crazy, things that they said would never happen, like Iran. getting together with Saudi Arabia, opening up their embassy. They're mending fences in Dubai. This was an Iranian technical delegation visited Saudi Arabia this week to prepare for the reopening of the embassy. Everything's coming together. Everything's coming together. It's just falling into place. Everything's falling into place just quite perfectly. So you almost get that feeling, you almost get that vibe. You're like, God, this is it. This is it. The big one's coming. I'm telling you all that you shouldn't get too bogged down in all this stuff. Whatever's going to happen, you know? It's like you should probably worry, I would say, if you want to worry about something, worry a little bit more about what you're paying attention to on social media, on Twitter, of all things, which is, you know, going to become the X app. Remember the X Everything app? Remember I did all those shows and I talked about the X. X marks the spot. Chiro, X, and you had the Elon was, you know, I did like so many videos about, you know, X and the symbolism of it, the cross. He's obviously a fan of that letter, considering, you know, he named his son X, and you know, there's something to it. SpaceX, right? Everything's X. Elon's been tweeting out some really interesting things, especially about AI. You know, because he's one of the few that are actually calling for like a pause. He's like, we got to pause this thing. We got to pause it for 6 months. And everybody else is like, nah, we don't think so. We're going to launch this. We're going to launch that. Nobody cares. People forget that, you know, a while ago, the Trumpster, he was like, hey, everybody, you go do what you got to do, right? Who needs regulation? Just you got to do what you got to do and do it. And so Elon put out this meme, which is interesting. First, he put out a tweet about, which I thought was pretty interesting, about the wolf. You know, the wolf and the sheep, and everybody, you know, he's like, oh, I don't eat that many sheep. And the sheep looked to the wolf as a savior. Put that, and I was thinking, well, that's interesting because I just did my whole video about the wolves. But I also talked about Doge, right? Remember he changed his the Twitter emblem to Doge for like a minute or something, and everybody went nuts. He also changed his name, by the way, to Harry Balls. he did, Harry Balls, which was actually an AI-driven e-currency that was released right at the same time. We're not saying that Elon was creating that, you know, that was released, but it was just, you know, it was one of those things where it was kind of just probably a joke. I always think there's more to it. Harry Bowles also is like a recording artist. That's right. You know what's really weird about this is the fact that I spent a little time researching the deeper meaning of Harry Bowles, which I think the joke's on me for that one, huh? But Elon seemed to confirm my belief that people will be worshiping the Dogecoin, e-god backwards, where he put out a little joke about what does a dyslexic, agnostic amnesiac who believes in crypto do? Lies up all night thinking about Doge, right? Just seems like it's an e-god joke. You got people all over the place, like British entertainers. They're saying that AI is going to take over their jobs, and they're concerned. Like, that's what we got to worry about, right? We got to worry about. I think to myself, look at how the minds of everybody watching anything that happens on Twitter or Facebook or wherever else, Instagram. Look at just how everybody's been just so programmed to be just so miserable and divided and depressed. It's just very sad. Things are just shoved down our throat, and it's probably not reality. It's probably just, you know, gets the most clicks, and sadly everybody wants to stop to see the accident, right? They always want to stop and see because it makes them feel better about their life, I guess. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at the meme that he shared about AI, kind of like man makes AI, AI perfects itself, AI enslaves humanity, and then there's a huge solar flare, and it disables AI, and then man starts again by worshiping the sun. It's kind of like a cycle of these things that happen. Some people think that AI's already been here, that maybe that happened last time too, you know, as if that this is something that we just continue to do till we get it right. That's why Meta logo is the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. I think that this is it for me. I'm at least graduating. I don't know about you. God has bigger plans for those that are serving him. And if I come back, I hope I do it better the next time around, if that's a thing. So you just feel like at any moment, you know, it's all going to go to pot. You feel like it. It's true. It's true. I'm usually very, I'm usually very encouraging, but I gotta tell you, I've been in so much pain. This is hard for me to do. I didn't even want to do a show today because my body hurts so much. I've got this thing called ankylosing spondylitis and Crohn's disease. And for whatever reason, every once in a while, it just flares up and I forget how bad it gets. Like I was telling Danielle the other night, I'm like, I forgot how terrible it is because I've been doing so good for so long. Because I eat right, I exercise. I still went to the gym today. Could barely walk, barely get through a workout. I'm still pushing myself. There's an expression, if you snooze, you fuse. I don't want to be one of those guys walking around with the hunchback. But you know what? Whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to try to enjoy my life to the best of my ability. So, you know, when these days happen, when I'm really not feeling great, I push myself. Because I don't want to give up. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in. Are you going to give up just when it gets a little bit hard? Are you going to give in? No? This is the best part of my day. Doing this right here. Because I have a purpose. I have a reason. And that reason is to inspire all of you to put your faith in more. Because if you're putting your faith in this world the way it is, you're going to be drinking a whole lot of wormwood tea, my friend. Because a wormwood is a coming. And it's a bitter. It doesn't taste too good in the stomach. I'm telling you. But I'm hoping that it actually has some health benefits like that video that I saw. I don't know why I'm drinking. It's making me sweat. I don't feel good. It feels like I don't even know, like the worst taste in my mouth, period. I know I've done this a couple of times, probably an old bit, but for whatever reason, I felt like I should do it again. Seems like that's the way the world is today, right? It's just bitter. Goes down bitter. That's what they described the book that was given to, the angel gave the book to the prophet, to the messenger. In your mouth, it's sweet as honey, but then it goes down and it's bitter. When the truth at first, when you hear it, it feels great. But until you realize you got to live it, and then your life starts to change, and then you realize you got to even suffer for it. Giving birth is not fun. Giving birth is not fun, and that's what we're doing. We're all giving birth, spiritually speaking. And that's what's happening in the world. So that's why the world is acting mad. Acting mad like you got dairy farms blowing up now. Everything's blowing up, right? Toxic fuels spilling on the road. It's nonstop nonsense. And yet, here all of you are, taking the time to hang out with me. And I'm happy that you did it. So, I want to thank you all for doing so. I hope that this was, I don't even know what this show was. Honestly, I've been in so much pain since I started talking. It's like all a blur to me. I hope this is something that maybe just encourages you. Don't get too bogged down in this stuff. Instead, seek meaning. The truth is, Poseidon's fury is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. That's what you got to take away from. There's a new vision of heaven. There's a new picture, a new understanding of heaven. It's at hand. It's at the door. It just really stinks right now at this moment, but it's going to get better. So, have faith. Do me a favor if you want. If you want to support the channel, you can get yourself a Uranus' Planet. You can get yourself a God's Champion shirt. These, by the way, they're going away in like a week or so, 2 weeks. All the stuff in the links in the description below. Get yourself a copy of my novel, The Calling. I'm going to end this video with the, it's like kind of a fan-made trailer. Like I'm trying to imagine what the trailer would be like when it turns into a best-selling blockbuster movie, which I believe it will one day, because God has a plan, and God put that in my heart. So now I share it with all of you. We just haven't seen it come to pass yet, but we will. Just like years ago when I was doing this video over here, talking to all of you, all of my speckled sheep, all the sheep that God did, the flock that God gave Jacob, the speckled and the spotted, people that the ministers of the day, they didn't want them. I want them. I want the real people. I want all of you. And I'm grateful that you're here, and I thank you for doing so. So enjoy the trailer. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Hit like, and have the best day ever. Love you. Bye-bye. September 10th. Mars hangs closer to the Earth than it has in 6,000 years. Like the light that led men from the east to a child in a manger, it could well be a sign of good things to come. Thomas James shall be his name. The world will change because of him. In the small town of Bethel, in a time not unlike our own, a child with a great purpose is born. Years later, alienated by his peers and abused, Thomas suffers a devastating loss. When it appears he has nothing left to live for in the world, this is when his true calling begins. While trying to escape the sinister powers that be, a terrifying vision haunts him. Miraculous events seem to follow the peculiar young man as he struggles to come to terms with what he was born to do. The stage is set. The time is at hand. The truth will rise and a revolution will begin. The startling revelation of who Thomas James is, truly, will change the lives of those around him and set off a chain of events long ago foretold. There is more to this novel than one might think. Inside these pages hides a treasure just waiting to be discovered. So if you've ever wondered if there's more to life, or why it is we suffer, then this story will not only captivate you, it may just open your eyes to a truth that could set you free. Find out what is in us all that makes us heed the calling.